Welcome to Let's Talk About Gay Stuff.
Woo!
Let's talk about gay stuff. Let's talk about.
All right.
98. See, I'm thinking of like the cheerleaders. Like, no, anyone? All right, we can have a cheer, maybe not a song. Anyways, we're the podcast where we talk about gay stuff and discuss the week in LGBT plus history. We are Thomas,
Tony,
Kendall.
Tony. From now on, you're going to be known as Pamela. Okay.
Wait, who's Pamela?
Pamela. But we're just going to refer to you as Pamela from here on out.
Who's Pamela?
Kendall sent us this thing, which I don't think you read, but
There was a gay
TLDR,
bar.
yeah. Wait, what happened?
There was a gay bar in, I think, Minneapolis, and they protested Trump when he came to visit. Or there was a citywide Trump protest, and they had that inflatable baby Trump.
Oh, yeah.
And some random old woman on Facebook was like, well, they've lost my business. Somebody put, it's a gay bar, Pamela.
Oh, Pamela. I wonder what Pamela
And somebody else
like.
put,
Do you think she had Alzheimer's?
That's you.
What is Pamela? But they're selling all sorts of merch, huh? Aren't they? Like
Yeah, so now they're selling T-shirts called, it's a gay bar, Pamela.
Oh, my God, I want one of these T-shirts.
So, yeah. Your new name is Pamela.
Okay, that's great.
And
Yeah.
Pamela will probably sue
I think
and
about
win.
Pamela like with some big flowy hair, some black hair with like big hoop earrings, like because you don't hear a lot of Pamelas anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I thought you were calling me Pamela because, I've gained a little weight, and so I have man boobs now, and Pamela Anderson,
maybe that too. Whatever.
My MBs.
You woke up this
Double
morning
D.
and did a half marathon like nothing. Haven't been training for it, and you're just like, I woke up like this, and you. Ran
But I was telling Robert
And
this
heels,
morning.
too.
I was like, because Robert's like, oh, I had all this bad food at the Halloween party,
Is
I was
Robert your
like,
lover?
No, Robert Lee.
Robert E. Lee.
And so he's like, I was like, yeah, yesterday, literally, my food intake consisted of nachos, beer, and mac and cheese. That's why even though I run, I have the
That's
MBs.
how you prep?
Yeah. Carb loading,
Oh, Pamela.
Oh, Pamela.
All right. The life of Pamela.
Pamela, this week we're reviewing the week of November 3rd through the 9th, and we're going to discuss Jared Polis, Eleanor Roosevelt, and Elaine Noble. So all these are elected
Trailblazers.
officials, which, by the way, November the 5th is Election Day, so make sure you go vote if you haven't voted already. So it's a big, depending on where you
Elections matter.
are. Yeah, elections matter.
Certain local elections.
Yeah, I mean, it's not everywhere, but November's election season time, right? And next year will be a big one, so we'll see what happens. But in Houston, the mayor is.
The mayor's race is heating up.
Yeah.
Oh, heating up, y'all.
All the council members too, so it's been fun to get involved in that a little bit. But yeah, very cool. So what's going on this week? What's happened?
Did y'all hear we lost one of the P's in LGBTQPPRSTW?
What?
No, what happened?
Miley Cyrus was like,
Oh, yes.
I'm straight now. She
Well, didn't
pulled
she
the
say-
old. there
Didn't she
is
say
good
something you
dick
don't
out
have
there.
to, like, identify as gay? What exactly did she say?
She said she was giving out. She was basically man-hating and being too feminist, she said. And she said she just found the right dick.
Oh, she found the
Her
big D.
words, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that what happened to some of us in terms of why we became gay?
But that's what a lot of people... I wasn't... What'd you say?
There's a Golden Girls episode, but never mind.
I was like, she found the right D and became straight, and like some people have found the right D and became
Gay,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But that's what people say is that it's a decision. It goes into the whole choice thing.
So that's why everyone.
But she says she's pansexual, so I don't understand why you would... Like, she could still be pansexual.
Right. So you're saying from her standpoint, or what? Like the back, because she got a lot of backlash from all the gay magazines. Like,
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that, Pamela.
It's a gay bar, Pamela.
But so I mean, I didn't understand. Like, I don't know. People wanted to get excited, and I couldn't get that excited about this.
You're like, who
She
cares?
thought she was a lesbian, and now she just said, I just found a dick who wasn't a dick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I think she misspoke, and I know folks be like, not misspeaking, and she's she's got a voice, but I don't know. I did, like I said, I didn't get that excited. I was trying to find a way to get excited about this, like
You were trying
Like
to
negative excitement, you mean? You're like,
yeah.
who cares?
Yeah, like what? But I'm just like, partly I'm a little biased because I've been on this, like, I declared myself a Smiley recently because her last two albums have been, I've been about him.
That's her fan
Yeah.
club, the Smiley's.
Yeah, they're Smilers, right, Spence?
Smilers is her nickname. That's why she's named Miley.
Smileys, yeah. So
She was so smiley when she was a kid. They called her Miley.
I always like when Vanessa Bayer, was it that with the woman from SNL? She always did the Miley Cyrus impersonation. It was fun. Hey, I'm
That
Miley
husky
Cyrus.
voice.
Yeah. Always had that smile. But yeah, I don't know what I mean. You wanted to talk about it though, Kendall. Like, was there anything?
No, I just thought it was interesting.
So some of the argument was you can't make a decision, right? Being gay isn't, you get to decide when you're gay or not. I mean, again, I
think a lot of gays were mad because it goes against the whole, like, for so long we're like, we're not born this way. You can't go back and forth between.
Yeah.
Although I have a lot of female friends that have done that.
Well, isn't that the joke about women in college? You're like lesbian until you graduate. Lug, yeah.
Lesbian until graduation.
Or as my friend George says, he's like, all lesbians end up with a man.
Is George straight?
Yes.
So he has a chance.
Whether they're a woman.
No, he's gay.
Whether they're a woman or not.
Yeah.
Something managed. Although I should say, very, very cautiously.
No, but he thinks all he's like, lesbian is just a phase. Nobody's actually lesbian because they all end up with
It's a hobby.
Yeah.
So therefore, no, I have to declare my newfound wokeness though, because I went to. So remember, we had Tammy Wallace on our show for the quiz show. So she invited me after that to go attend the In Focus workshop.
Oh yeah, how was it?
Focus group workshop. So it was great. It was talk about words matter and the kind of the mindfulness that people need to bring in terms of being aware of LGBT people and how LGBT people need to be out and kind of declare themselves as well. But it's just it's all these assumptions, just breaking down these historical ways of how we viewed ourselves, our identity, marriage, that sort of stuff. And so to me it was really good. I think it's a great workshop for people and companies to attend, to kind of help management think about that. I mean, I think I was telling folks at the workshop, I'm like, this podcast has been helpful for me because I have a new appreciation. I think even I was saying, the three of us at times we're like, yeah, whatever, he, she, they, blah, blah. But now as we've kind of learned these stories of the people we talk about, I think we have a different appreciation for it's not just LGBTQI. It's like there's all those those initials matter, and how people identify is important, and it's not just a binary thing that we've always kind of. And like I said, even probably a year ago, even though I'm a proud member of the community, I would probably roll my eyes when someone was like intersex. I'm like, what? And now I'm like, well, that's how someone identifies.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to meet them there. And much like Harry Hay, who we talked about.
Hey, Harry.
The problem isn't with the individual; it's with society. I mean, you need. So yeah, that's. I mean, it was. A good
so what you're
workshop.
saying is, find a dick that's not a dick, just like Miley said.
I think Miley said it best.
I'm still looking, honey.
Yeah. Pamela's still on the search, everybody. So you can hit her up at Pamela.com.
Yeah. So I actually have a good gay story this week. So my friend Natalie, she's lesbian. She and her wife
This is not here for you to talk to us about your gay sex life.
She and her wife just had a baby, and so our economics professor emailed her. And he said, hey, I'm going to use you and Jessica and your son in future. He's rewriting a textbook. And he goes, I'm going to use you in my new textbook. So he goes, one of my word problems is going to be, Natalie and her wife are buying a house and blah, blah, blah. Here's the word problem. And then a subsequent word problem is going to be when, Everett is trying to save for retirement for his two moms, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, no, that is, I mean.
Yeah. Because he said, I think it's important, to keep up with the times, basically.
That's one of the things, too, that we talked about in the workshop is just how businesses can better market themselves, right? And so, because there's all the backlash that we've talked about before of these companies that go put their flag up during Pride and then you don't hear anything from them. But to the extent, I mean, that message could resonate more if they had individuals represented on their websites or their social media platforms of talking about stories, not just of the traditional man and woman getting married and having kids, but the lesbian couple with kids, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Yeah.
Pretty woke of that professor.
I know. Yeah.
Wow, good stuff. That's fun. It's good to see stuff like that because again, we're still breaking down those barriers. But kudos to that. Is he gay?
No. He just
hasn't found a dick that's not a dick.
Right, exactly. I think he's just probably pretty cool and yeah.
Oh, cool. Very cool. All right, so you guys, anything else? Want to talk about some gay stuff?
Yeah, Pamela.
Let's do it, Pamela. All right, I think I'm up first.
I want Pamela as a guest.
Pamela's going to come as a guest. That's you and drag. With the big flowy black wig and...
Chris can be my drag mother.
He's trying to start a house, so the house of Wrecked. So
The drag house.
Pamela Wrecked.
Foreclosed house.
Pammy Wrecked.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay. Pamela Wrecked. All right. Wait, we didn't talk about. I mean, we're recording. So this is the week of November 3rd through the 9th that we're talking about. But we're actually recording just a few days after Mr. Kendall's birthday. How was your birthday?
Oh, it was fun.
Yeah.
The Lord sent a storm and 30-degree weather, but
What'd you do?
I will not.
Wait, your birthday, is that the day the whole city flooded and that was the devil
Yeah.
saying like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you do on your birthday?
So I want to make art, and Tiny Baby Asian, who's in the audience today, Tiny Baby Asian,
TBA.
bought me a bunch of tools to make art. So we
Oh, nice.
spent the day not chopping
Art,
off our fingers.
sculpting, painting. What?
Wood art.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm inspired by lesbians.
Were you rubbing wood together? Is that what you guys were doing for your birthday?
Yeah, in the
Gloria
shed.
will help you if you ever need
He took me
help,
out to the
you know?
shed. And,
Were you pounding him? Pounding him like a hammer?
all right. It was my
Annie,
birthday secrets.
Birthday.
if you need help operating the heavy equipment, Gloria
My
will
birthday
help
suit
you.
was wrinkled. I'm
Gloria
upset
can
about
help.
that. I couldn't get the wrinkles out of my birthday suit.
I think that's a sustainable thing. That's a long-term thing.
Try steaming.
Yeah.
I look like a white linen birthday suit.
That's from here on out.
A wrinkled white.
Welcome to getting older.
God,
They
you're-
thought it was pinstripe. But
God, you're in your early 30s. Just wait.
Yeah.
right?
Wait till you turn
I'm barely
40.
30.
Barely 30. All right, so
In the
let's
waves.
Dirty 30. Ooh.
let's talk about some gay stuff. I'm up first. Before we do that, though, a little word from our sponsor, Economy Works. If you guys are so inclined. Hey, are you a small business owner trying to do it all? Take marketing, for example. Nowadays, your business has to have a Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn account. Who has the time to take pictures and write posts and get them posted online, let alone like, comment, share, and respond to followers? Don't worry, Economy Works is here to help. Let the Economy Works Talent Network help you do marketing so you can grow your business. Economy Works. When we work, the economy works. Find out more at economyworks.com. You know, Spencer on his podcast always spells out Economy Works, but I can't spell my own company's name, so whatever.
We don't want to confuse the listeners.
Right. Yeah, but it is
Just find it.
Economy with
With an I.
not with a
there you
Y.
go.
With an I.
It's a little bit of mystery.
Usually, some
We're not
people
going to tell you the name of the company. Just go find it.
some people are like, "Is it Economy Works?" I'm like, "No,
It's
One of my.
Economy.
We're not sure what it is.
It's Economy Works.
He's like, I found it,
open
but
to
I don't know what it is,
interpretation.
so yeah.
It's not open for interpretation.
It's the E
Economy
on
Works.
LGBTQE
No,
plus.
stop it. All right. So, November 5th, 1974. I'll take you back there. Before we go back there, let's do a little. I mean, so just in this, what's going on right now, right? We have Mayor Pete. He is on, running for president. Could be our first
Pistol Pete?
our first
Mhm.
out gay president, because we've talked about Buchanan, right? And Buchanan wasn't out per se, or at least we don't know him to be out.
Right.
But everyone just assumed he was gay. But Mayor Pete could be the first out.
I hope
gay
not, honestly.
Elected. No, really?
Check the polls. It's okay.
I mean,
We're good.
cute little guy. I don't want him to be president, though.
No.
I agree, but.
Would you not vote? Would you vote for him though?
If he's a nominee,
yes, of
hell yeah,
course.
but
I mean,
in the-
yes.
Well, I say that because I was listening to a podcast, The Daily, about Bernie Sanders fans, and those folks, they're like, it's either Warren or I may not vote at all, and it's like, wow.
There was a poll. I think
Well, at least they
South Carolina
will
poll
support somebody.
asking what they thought about Pete, and a large number of African American pollsters said, "I wish you'd stop talking about being gay. Like,
And he
why does he have to
doesn't.
talk about his boyfriend or whatever? But that's his husband. Why shouldn't
Yeah,
he?"
and I mean,
talk
it's
about-
I doubt like that's part of his stump speech. I'm sure it just comes up randomly, but I don't think like he's just that's the first thing he rolls out there.
Yeah. I mean,
his stump.
His stump. Or Chasten stump. But anyways, yeah. So, I mean, he's on the verge of making history, but I mean, all the things that you
I mean, just
said,
the fact that he's on the debate platform,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the challenge he has is a challenge that people have had before. It's like there's still people just with him uncomfortable being gay, right?
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
just the thought of that, and why do you have to throw it in my face? But there are people, that have been living this, but have kind of been breaking through. We'll talk about Jared Polis in a bit, but Barney Frank long before that, and of course we all famously know Harvey Milk. kind of the recognized first politician to be kind of openly out. Of course, I mean, often Harvey Milk is mistaken as being the first openly gay elected official. He was not that. He was just the first openly gay in a major city, which is why he got a lot of publicity.
And he was also assassinated, which always ups your brand.
Right.
Yeah.
He was very vocal, and he was out, and we talked about that, right? He was always stressed about being.
He was an activist. Yeah, he wasn't just a behind the scenes. Right. I'm gay. Yeah.
But before that, you had a couple other folks, and so Nancy Wechsler and Jerry DeGrake they were the first kind of known people to be gay politicians, like elected to a citywide office. Although Nancy and Jerry came out after they were elected, so they're the first known out people in office, right?
Was Nancy a man?
Nancy.
Was she cute?
That's a lady. That's
an old gay term.
Well, now that I'm Pam, I can comment on the women too. Was she cute?
Right, now that you're a lesbian. But Kathy Kozachenko, she was the first elected out official in...
out when she was running, not after being an incumbent.
That granted, so Nancy, Jerry, and Kathy, they were all from Ann Arbor, Michigan. So, and she was elected in 1974. So first out person to be elected into an office. So that's Kathy Kozachenko. Elaine Noble, who I'm talking about here, she was the first LGBT person elected to a statewide office. So she was out while running. And, I was telling you this, Tony, before we got started recording, as we research these people, I always kind of learn, I start to feel like I know them a bit, just because you read about their story and kind of connect with them differently. And it's always cool to kind of see the YouTube videos or documentaries about people. But she was a little pistol, Elaine Noble.
Was she short?
She was, I don't know if she was short.
Why do you think of short people when you hear pistol?
Yeah.
No, but she just was kind of a sassy person, and I kudos to her for being as confident as she was when she ran for office as an out lesbian in 1974. So at age 30, she became the first openly gay person to be elected in all of the U.S. To Boston's 6th Suffolk District. So this is the state house in Massachusetts. Basically, she was the rep for the neighborhoods Fenway and Back Bay in Massachusetts.
What?
Massachusetts.
You say it like Martha. Martha, my best friend, could not pronounce it. She says, friend
of the show, Martha?
Massachusetts. Massachusetts.
Friend of the show, Martha.
Massachusetts.
Yes, Massachusetts. I hate saying that, actually. I don't... Every time I have
She said all Massachusetts.
I get anxiety looking at the word Massachusetts and being like, I have to say it. She served from 1975 until 1979, and when she won, there was a little video, kind of like when that viral video that went around when AOC won, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, that surprise look. I mean, she had a similar look. One of the reporters asked her, personally, what does this victory mean to you? She said, it means I have a job. So she was running as an out person, but that wasn't like her. That wasn't her kind of badge of honor. She wasn't being like, "Hey, vote for me because I'm gay." She's like, "I got voted in spite of being gay," right?
Yep.
And so, whereas she's like now in interviews later in the year, she's like, it's almost like some people get elected because they are gay. She was like, that obviously wasn't the case for me. Because she said her victory was not a victory for the gay community, but a victory for someone who's ready to deal with the issues. And so she was really focused on building a campaign that was going to fix the district that she was representing. There we go.
In
Massachusetts. So she has a degree from Boston University, has a master's in education from Harvard, was a teacher, and so then kind of bled into being a community activist. So she was part of a governor's commission of the status of women. So it was a big feminist. She helped founded a group called the Women's Political Group in Massachusetts, along with Barney Frank's sister, and so who wound up kind of being a key influencer in terms of her making the decision to run. She also produced a radio program called The Gay Way on a local FM station there in Boston area. She was part of the Daughters of Bilitis, and she had a reputation for being outgoing, tough, and able to work hard and articulate. She really made her brand in the community as helping the elderly and the blind, and she focused her campaign and her platform was on helping the elderly and the disabled around housing, organizing around pressures for rent control, and really focused on as well as like helping education, because that's again was her background. again, she met well, I'm drawing a blank on this woman's name. Where is her name? You guys got to
Barney Frank's sister?
Barney Frank's sister. It's Anne, and it's not Frank.
I thought he was the sister.
No, Anne Lewis. Anne Lewis. So they hooked up. Anne Lewis, and not hooked up because she's not gay. Anne Lewis is not gay, but they met up when they formed the Massachusetts Women's Political Caucus, and they were originally just trying to get women to run for office, and that's when Anne was like, "Hey, Elaine, why didn't you think about running for office?" And Elaine initially was hesitant to do that. She's like, "Look, I'm gay. I'm out. Like, this is not going to work." And Anne was like, "Actually, there's going to be a redistricting. So there's going to be this new district that's set up in the area, and it's right kind of where you grew up. So likely this could be a winning,
pretty liberal,
proposition for you." And it was right next to Barney Frank's district. And so when the redistricting happened.
But this was in the 70s when he wasn't out yet, right?
Right. So they had worked on, Anne and Elaine had worked on getting Barney elected. So they were a part of his campaign. And they really were pushing.
He was the first purple dinosaur elected. Barney.
No. Wow.
Keep going.
So it was
keep going.
Anne and Barney Frank's mother that really kind of pushed Elaine to run for office. They actually liked the idea of her being gay and running for office because they suspected that Barney might be a mo. And
you saw the way he sang and danced.
Yeah.
The other Barney was gay too. The new Barney was gay
dinosaur.
too.
There's more than one Barney.
But yeah, so she put her name in the hat. Barney Frank was supportive of that, but it was a very ugly campaign.
Because she was a lesbian?
Rude. She was a lesbian. I mean, so she had to endure shooting through her windows. Just her car was destroyed, breaking windows at the campaign headquarters. There was lots of harassment with people visiting her house and campaign office. It was really bad. And the election commissioner, who she kind of reflected later and after she was elected and out of political office, said it was one of the ugliest elections and political campaigns he'd ever seen in Boston.
You know what's crazy you say that because in both the 2008...
When I said purple dinosaur, your face was like, what are you talking about?
But in the 2008 and 2012 presidential elections, the Democratic campaign headquarters in Houston for Obama, it was like lower Midtown. It kept getting defaced all the time.
So, she had to deal with that. Eventually, but she went on to win. She beat Joseph Camino, who was a bar owner there in Boston, and she won by over 500 votes, 1,700 to 1,200 votes.
That's a large margin for that.
Yeah. So it was. So she ran a great campaign despite all the setbacks, and people really kind of bought in because they believed in what she was doing. They quickly, all the people that voted for her quickly realized, she was there to fight for them. Her biggest issue, so two issues of controversy when she was in office. First, that she was in Boston, there was desegregation of schools was a big thing.
Okay.
And so being an educator, again, she was a fierce advocate for that. She actually took her campaign folks and said, you guys, even though they weren't in campaign mode anymore, she's like, I want you to volunteer to help with pickups and drop-offs for the children in the school district. So she was monitoring them to make sure that everything was done safely. And she was the only white member of the Boston delegation that would ride on the buses with the children to make sure that they were they were getting picked up and dropped off safely. So that immediately put her in a bad spot. And then on top of that, she was gay, right? And so because she was a lesbian, also she faced a lot of harassment. It was just something that she had to deal with, like human feces that was left on her desk, a lot of obscene profanities. This was from her colleagues, right? But she had to just try to maintain the dignity that she could. Because she was gay, though, she had this massive appeal, though. I mean, she's this rep of this small district in Boston, right? But all of a sudden, she gained a lot of notoriety across the country. So she had gay people calling her from all across the U.S., asking her like they would their own house rep to say, hey, can you fix this issue for me? And because they thought she was basically the one gay person you could call that would get your issues fixed. And so it was a lot of stress on that, because not only did she have all these, like the burden of all these people that was on her, but then she had everyone else. It's like she had another fraction of the group that were shitting on her desk, like saying obscene
Yeah.
things. She said there was one period where an old man who was like 85 years old, like he came up and spit in her face. He was like, "Hey, I want to, hi Elaine," and so she was like, reached out her hand. She said to try to shake his hand, and he wound up spitting in her face.
Maybe he thought that was how you greet a lesbian.
Well, you know,
No, that's how you would greet a gay leather man.
spit in their face.
Yeah.
Make them
Oh, I've been spitting in the wrong place.
dope.
Once you know them, you can.
So she had to endure a lot. Okay.
Stop interrupting.
Well, I'm like trying to be serious, and then I'm like, we're talking about spitting.
Kendall,
They could have been
you're
spitting on-
disgusting.
They're supposed to spit.
Oh, I
on
don't
them.
spit.
I'm just talking about it.
You just
though.
ram it in
The Lord's Day. Thank
on
you.
the Lord's Day.
Okay, you're disrespecting her.
Thanks. Yeah, she would get calls though from across the country, from New York to California, to help kind of manage her stuff. But no, she persisted. She was really passionate about the platform that she was running on, and she was reelected in 1976. So she served 2 terms, and through 1979. At that time, there was some redistricting that was happening again, which was going to put her it was merging her and Barney Frank's district. So it was going to put her running against Barney Frank, and she was like, "I'm not running against Barney Frank." There was I guess some interesting controversy. It was like, well, was it awkward that you had to run against Barney Frank? And she's like, we never had intended to run against each other. She said she had told her friend Ann and Barney Frank's mom that she was never going to run up against Barney. But Barney was such a big supporter of her. Like, he was like, look, we'll find you another district. Like, you run. And she was like, she had just been spent because of the emotional turmoil of being, harassed the way
Through
she
all of
was
that,
for being lesbian, for, again, bearing the burden of, like, being the one out gay person. It was just too much for her. She had a partner at the time that they wound up splitting up in 1976 because she was just like, she couldn't deal with the harassment
Yeah,
anymore.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
It was funny. I was listening to this video about them talking, and she was like, so when Elaine was like, oh, I wanted the girl she was dating to move from New York to Boston, she was like, I'll only do it under one condition. You have to stop wearing these knit sweaters that you wear. So they're joking about this. I was cracking up as I had my headphones in while I was watching the videos on YouTube, and Spencer was like, what are you laughing at? I'm like, this woman was like a sassy woman. Like, I was so impressed, I said this earlier, like, just by her confidence. I mean, you think about being the only gay person to be out.
And also,
all
like,
that.
in the 70s, there were probably only a handful of women in elected office across the country. Early 70s.
And she was just like, I'm gay, but I'm not going to wear it. I mean, she was speaking like someone like Mayor Pete would speak today. Like, this is not my platform. I'm not running a gay platform. I'm going to fix the neighborhoods we're in. I'm going to help foster desegregation. Like,
and it probably wasn't her that brought up her sexuality.
Yeah,
it was probably her opponents and
whoever dumped her on her desk.
Like, yeah. And like, Wolf, is that what you said? Is that what you're into? What were we telling where were we listening to the joke where there was some guy with the accent that was like saying, sit on my chest, and he had an accent that was like saying he was shit on my chest. That was Tony wants someone to shit on his chest.
That's disgusting.
Pamela, everybody. That's Pamela.
Pamela. That's probably the real Pamela.
That's the real
She
Pamela.
likes all that. That's why she hates the gays.
Dirty Pamela.
Exactly.
Pamela.
Well, we've lost your business.
Oh, jeez. But I mean, again, just the unfortunate thing is, I think because she endured so much emotional stress, like, and it's crazy to kind of think what happened though, because if you go back and look at those videos, she was so confident. And then she did one bid for, I mean, while she was in office in the late 70s, she did go to the White House, invited by Carter on an LGBT forum that she was part of. So she was able to do that. But I think after it was all said and done, Barney Frank was trying to get her to run for another office. She did make a run at another statewide.
Wait, you keep saying statewide, but it's not statewide. Statewide means the whole state votes on you.
Right.
You mean like a district in the state legislature?
Yeah, she was.
Okay.
Yeah.
But state office, not local.
State office.
State office, yeah. Because statewide
but
is like.
After that, she was running for like a U.S. Congress seat. She didn't get it, and she was just done after that. Because if you look for any interviews, or I mean, have you guys ever heard of her before?
Mm-mm.
Like, no. I mean, and you would think that someone who was such a fierce advocate, like she would have been.
Is she still alive?
Yeah. But she kind of went into hiding. You know, she was saying in one interview that, like, because they asked her about like Harvey Milk and how did she know him, and she she acknowledged him, and she said, Harvey Milk was watching her, and she's like, we knew that something was going to happen to one of us just because of the threats that happened. So she was not surprised that.
Well, now the Attorney General of Massachusetts is a lesbian.
Yeah.
So she owes some of that to.
Well, and that's what she was saying. She was like, is this a thing that
she has a clean desk because someone got dumped on before.
Yeah,
her.
she doesn't have to worry about getting dumped on. They were asking like, is there, how do you feel about kind of being in an interview that happened in 2007? How do you feel about being kind of the first person to come out? She's like, I was just part of a conga line of people, that were advocating for rights. She's like,
a congalingus line?
A congalingus? No. No, she was, but she was like, she definitely didn't like, I was the leader on all this. She was like, look, there was a lot of people to kind of get to the point that I was, and there was a lot of people that have been involved and advocated for LGBT rights since then. There was one Minnesota senator who, like, when he saw her come out, he eventually came out himself. He was a state senator, because he said, if I did come out, he saw that with Elaine that he had company, and like he wasn't going to be the only out gay person, even though she would be 1,000 miles away. So unfortunately, like I said, after the early 80s, she kind of fell off the radar. I mean, again, because you don't hear.
It probably burnt her out. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what she said. She's just like, I was burnt out. She made an appearance in 2009 for a Palm Beach, like they were doing some LGBT community center, and so she like came out of hiding, so to speak, because she lives in Florida now. With her partner, but she came out of that, and they kind of featured her. Apparently, people have been trying to kind of pull her out, like, and she's like, I don't want to. She's like, I paid my dues. I'm good.
Done.
So, which is again just so great that she did what she's done, but for her to be that fierce, like, I mean, you think about any like an AOC type, like she had that sort of like presence. For her to go from that to like, I'm just gonna go and hiding, like it's not even worth it.
And it is interesting because I often think of that with Hillary Clinton, like the abuse that she's had to endure, or just the backlash from the public over various issues, and she just keeps going. And it's like, I feel it's human nature to be more like this lady, where it's like, okay, I'm just done, like let me live my life. And so, but I often think of that, like a lot of the stuff that Hillary's had to endure, and she just keeps going.
Yeah, I mean, she could be, she could still be. I mean, she's 75 now. A fierce advocate, right? I mean, if Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden are running for office, like she could be in that
or just out of politics, just for nonprofits,
she donates a lot of money to the LGBT causes. But the HRC, all sorts of these organizations have been like, we could like bank off her, like just in terms of fundraising, because people.
But she never wanted to be known as the lesbian lawmaker.
Yeah.
So she still.
She wanted to like do something, and she just happened.
But what
to
if
be
she
lesbian.
might pull a Miley and realize that?
Maybe she just found the good deed.
A dick doesn't have to be a dick.
I don't know. Like I said, I was almost getting emotional, like listening to her story, because she had such that youthful. Like, remember when you were 30, Tony? Way back when. That passion.
Years ago, yes.
But
he has Alzheimer's.
He does remember. He actually does remember. He's gonna.
But you actually like can remember stuff from years ago, just not yesterday.
Yeah.
So I remember my 30s.
He's gonna
better than yesterday.
What happened yesterday?
It was just like
it hasn't happened yet.
It was one of those things to like see all that, and I got nothing else. You guys I've lost you guys. So Pamela.
Well, that was kind of rude, Kendall.
Pamela, what do you got for us?
So I'm actually very glad that you chose to do this topic, because it feeds so well into my topic, who is Jared Polis. And, for some of our listeners that may not know who he is, I think that's a good thing.
Jared Polis sounds like a porn name, like a porn
It's
actor.
pronounced
Well, he
Police.
used to be a porn actor.
Did he? Oh, yeah.
No.
Like,
No.
And he's the governor.
So Jared Polis, he's the current governor of California. He was elected governor last year. And he was the first openly gay governor elected in Colorado. Actually, he was the first openly gay governor elected. He's the second LGBT governor, because Oregon's governor is bisexual.
And then Jim McGreevey, but he was outed.
Yeah, he was outed. Yeah, and so he's the first openly gay governor to be open before elected. And Kate Brown, she's the governor of Oregon, yeah. So she was the first openly LGBT person to be elected. But the reason I want to talk about Jared Polis is he was elected governor in 2018, but he ran for Congress for the first time in 2008. And the difference between those two campaigns and his sexuality are just completely night and day. So, I mean, his background, he was born in Colorado, grew up a little bit in California, and college in his through his mid-20s, he was a tech person, and he actually created 3 different tech companies that he sold. And so he, had quite a bit of money, and he wanted to get into politics. So he ran for the State Board of Education and served a 6-year term. And then in 2008, he ran for U.S. Congress representing Boulder, Colorado. And when he did that, this was the whole Hillary Obama era, and he had a really, really rough primary race. And the reason it was so rough was his opponents didn't really focus too much on the fact that he was gay, because it's a very liberal district, but his primary opponent was this lady who was like a Colorado Democratic Party darling. And it was just kind of like, she's owed this office. And so they just hated him for running. But
the Hillary versus Barack.
Pretty much it was. I mean, he was an outsider, and he was very rich, and so he self-funded his campaign. And so this was actually the most expensive primary in the nation in 2008. So he did end up prevailing, and he won the primary. And it's a very liberal district, so the Republican who was running didn't really have a chance. But it's interesting because when he won, every newspaper article you can find, the headline is basically, like, oh, a gay person was actually elected, because he was the first openly gay person to be elected. Like Barney Frank and Tammy Baldwin were both like open while they were serving, but they weren't open when they weren't out when they were running. They were incumbents by the time. So he was the first congressperson to be out while he was running. But every single, newspaper, the sole focus of his success was the fact that, oh my God, a gay person could be elected. And so it's just kind of interesting. Well, I guess before we move on, when he did get elected, he basically, his 2 things were, this kind of shows that you can be elected based on your political views and your stance on, issues, not your sexuality. And he made a point to say to LGBT people, like youth, he said, don't ever let being gay deter you from running for public office, because this shows that, you can be elected. So, the New York Times, their headline was, "Gay candidate wins Colorado primary." And the whole article was nothing but, oh my God, this gay person could win. So then you fast forward 10 years when he runs for governor, and I'll get into it in a minute about like the race, but their headline was, "Colorado has a gay governor, who cares?" And the subheadline was, "Colorado elected a rich gay Jewish governor, historical moment or progress with a shrug, or both." And so that's kind of why I wanted.
It's historical because it's progress with a shrug.
Yeah, and so I think that's why I wanted to do this, because I feel like, when he talks about his race as governor, because when he was running for Congress, it was a very liberal district, but he said if it wasn't for it being such a liberal district, it probably would have been a much bigger factor in the campaign. But when he was running for statewide office, Colorado has a lot of rural areas, and historically, up until the last few years, it's been very anti-LGBT. It's one of those states that's kind of moving purple to blue. But he said he didn't really get a lot of questions on the campaign trail. Nobody really made it an issue. And he said he did get a lot of hate mail and death threats while he was running. But he said, a lot of it was gay, but it was more that he was Jewish versus being gay.
And I wonder if that was even people in Colorado, because Elaine Noble, when she ran for her second term, she won by 90%.
Yeah.
So she was getting all these threatening things. guarantee wasn't by just the 10% of people that were in her district
Right,
that didn't vote for her,
exactly, yeah,
right? So it was all these outside influences that were coming and yelling at her and saying things. Because she did, again, 90%. There were plenty of people that were supportive of her as a person, but also what she was doing for them. But I imagine, Jared Polis was dealing with the same thing. All these people that are giving him these anti-gay or anti-Jewish sentiments are probably not even from Colorado. They're probably from the great state of Texas.
Yes. But it's just interesting, like how different the whole landscape was just in those 10 years from 2008 to 2018. And it's funny that you had said, that what was your
Elaine Noble?
Elaine Noble. That, she wasn't, didn't expect to be voted for because she was gay. So apparently after Jared Polis won governor in Colorado, Anise Parker, who was Houston's first LGBT mayor, she's now head of the Victory Fund, she said, sexual orientation is no longer a reason for people to vote for you. And she said, someday it will hopefully not be a reason for them to vote against you. Because, even though we've made progress, I think some people are just...
which is what we talked about with Mayor Pete, right? I mean, people don't want to vote for him because he keeps talking about the gay thing. He keeps throwing it in people's face.
Which I don't think he is, because I remember when Ellen was, ousted from her ABC show, everyone's like, oh, now it's the gay Ellen show, and it's really not.
But gay people are, riding Pete because he's, like, not talking about being gay enough. Like, he's not gay enough. So it's just like, I mean, that's the...
Who's riding Pete?
Chasten. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean... So, what if we could go on an aside on Mayor Pete? Like, why don't you want to see him? Why wouldn't you vote for him?
Because he's too centrist for me, too safe.
I don't have anything. I don't have anything against him, but he's just not my candidate. And I think we're
he's not bold
I wouldn't
enough.
vote for him just because he's gay, and he's just not my candidate. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, if he was the nominee, I would totally support him. And to be honest, I think he has his merits. I hope he does end up with something in the administration of whoever gets elected.
UN ambassador. That's what I'm about. Like UN ambassador, secretary.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Or something,
Because he's got all those languages, and then he can be secretary of state one day.
And he's got like foreign service. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
a gay secretary.
Imagine I mean, I like him. Like, he's well studied, but he is very junior. At the same time, I for folks to be like, age isn't a thing. Like Biden and Bernie, those guys are old.
Well,
and Bernie just had a heart attack.
But Pete is not qualified to be South Bend, Indiana mayor. You think you're qualified?
But neither is Donald Trump.
No, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, Donald Trump was it.
I don't know. I think
shows.
I think he could do it. He could do the job. But yeah, is he my top pick? No.
But be careful what you say about Donald Trump, because we're going to lose Pamela's business if you keep.
Pamela.
Oh my God, we just lost a follower.
Oh, Pamela.
She'll be in the comments.
I don't know, but I just.
It's a gay podcast, Pamela.
I think Pete would make a good first lady, though. Speaking of first ladies, no, I'm just kidding. Pete could be the president.
He'd be the first lady president.
Gay people can be the. Oh, you still have.
Yeah. So just a couple of tidbits I want to mention. On,
my bad.
God, they hate me.
Thomas has had enough
ever since I changed
Jared
my name
Police.
to Pamela, they hate
It's
me.
like Pamela.
No, a couple of tidbits I want to mention. So, Jared, his current husband, they were together before he ran in 2008, and they purposely. So he was out, but they were not really open, like in public and stuff like that. And the sole reason was because Jared did have political ambitions. And they actually talked about, after winning the governor's race, he said, like they purposely, like when they would go out before he was elected to Congress, like they would not hold hands in public because they didn't want to be like too gay. And there was one article written where the author said, I think one of the reasons his gayness wasn't really an issue, especially in 2008, but also now, is he's not kind of a stereotypical gay. He doesn't have a gym body. He doesn't like dress really well and things like that. But it just, and he did say, he's like, in 2008, just the fact that you were gay could eliminate you from being elected to public office. And he thinks that's changed. But in his when he won governor, he said, this is another message to the LGBT youth of America, that just because you're gay, don't let that one factor deter you from running for office. And then,
well, I'm just on that note. I mean, you mentioned the Victory Fund, right, with Denise Parker, right? That is actively trying to get people from the LGBT community to run for office,
yeah,
right? Which you would have not had a decade ago, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how.
Yeah,
how
I mean,
long.
he was the first U.S. congressperson to be elected while he was out,
right? And it's not something that you would normally advocate for, like announce, like, "Hey, I'm gay," and now you can do that.
And
hey y'all, gay here.
One of the things that I picked up in this research was when he was elected in 2018, I guess as part of the backlash to Trump, but he was part of the Rainbow Wave where 150 LGBT people were elected to public office in that election, which is
in 2018.
Yeah.
Which is you don't hear about. I saw that term the other day. I guess when I was doing some research on Elaine. Yeah, it was like the Rainbow Wave, which is kind of fun to hear.
Yeah.
Like as a member of the community, that you've got enough LGBT people. It's not one, right? It's not Jared Polis in 2008.
Right, exactly.
It is 150 people
in city, state,
and not just gay or lesbian or bi, but trans people. All in at local levels, at national levels. Like it's progress. We have more to go.
And
there's some champagne being poured. It's bubble. We're recording on brunch day, so that's what you hear in the background.
And I don't even think it was kind of
Wait, I thought this was sparkling cider.
Yeah, it is. It's non-alcoholic.
Is that why you're so quiet today, Kendall? So one of the things one of Jared's really good friends, who they had kind of come up through Colorado politics together, he had said after Jared was elected, when Jared got up on that stage with his husband, and he had his victory speech and everything, his friend said, "I can't imagine how different my life would be if I had watched that that election night when I was in high school." And I kind of thought about that. I was like, how much different would your world be, and how much would you think there's this opportunity for you, seeing that Colorado's elected governor being gay, if you're in high school versus now we're 40.
Right. Those are game changers, though. I mean, I say this because anytime I can talk about Selena, I will. But as a brown man, you would watch Selena and she was popular and she was sexy, and because normally as brown, you didn't see anyone who looked like you on TV, right? So
and no one was talking about bitty bitty bum bums.
Right. Exactly. And she made that a national conversation. No, but my point is no one historically, if you were gonna look at anyone I could be that, or I could be that pretty or handsome or whatever, it was always white dudes or white women. So that, I mean, as I can relate to that, just because as I said, with someone like Selena, you would see that. I didn't see myself, but I was just oh wow, there's a pretty Latina, that's awesome. And she's popular and successful. So I can't imagine though, as a gay person, how that would have been to see in the 90s.
And one thing getting back to your point about the New York Times headline where it's well, is it historical moment or progress with a shrug? I feel if this was 10 years ago, the whole gay community across the U.S. would have been oh my God, Jared Polis. And now I bet you most people don't even know who
the
he
year
is.
he got elected to Congress was the year California voted to ban same-sex marriage.
Yeah.
It was still a huge issue.
In California, which is the hippie, right? The uber liberal state, the coastal elites, they voted.
No, but fruits and nuts.
Okay. But Pamela's getting excited over here. But yeah, I mean, I even myself, I'm Jared Polis. I know the name sounds familiar, but yeah, it was one of the...
I remember when he was elected, it was oh, that's good. But then when he was inaugurated, they showed he and his husband and his 2 kids, and I was whoa, to see it in a photograph, how different it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one thing that, I work in a conservative industry. I have to go to Colorado a lot for work. And when he was running for governor, there were these ballot initiatives that were really anti-oil and gas. And so, anytime for probably a year prior to the election, every time we went up there to visit with clients, which was very frequently, we'd ask about what are these ballot initiatives, how they're going to impact you. And, so of course, a lot of these, oil company executives are anti-environment, or environmentalist, blah, blah, blah. And so I was just waiting for it to be the likely governor is gay, blah, blah. And not one time did I ever hear that comment. I mean, they would bash Democrats for being too environmental, like stuff like that. But which I think, just goes to show, like, because he said that, like, in some of his races, they never really hammered on the fact that he was gay. And I think because, well, first of all, when he was representative, it was a liberal district. And so it's like, well, that's all you got. But I think when he ran for governor, like, nobody really made an issue. Because I think, like, whoever his opponent was, it probably would have been like, well, that's all you have,
Well, now you almost get more backlash for coming at
yeah,
someone
because it's like,
gay.
if that's all you have against him versus, yeah.
If people hate him, it's probably because they would hate any Democratic governor.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, and he is pretty. I think he's pretty liberal, and so like his opponents were like, "This is gonna," because I think he's for universal health care in a nutshell, or something close to that, and he's just very liberal, and so I think a lot of people are just, he's more like a Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren than like Hillary Clinton.
What's your read on him, like, doing? Because I remember we talked.
He'll
about,
run for president.
We
one
talked
day, by the
about
way.
Kirsten Sinema, like, and there was an article back 10 years ago of like the next crop of political talent, and he was one of them, Kirsten Sinema. So do you think he's gonna run for president one day? Like,
Oh yeah,
so?
he will.
You think so?
I mean,
Yeah.
he's leading the path, right? It's the run for
Well, and I mean,
Congress.
one thing that he may have going for him is Colorado. I mean, it's definitely, the tide is changing there because there's so many young people moving, but it's historically been a very red state, and he won as a very liberal Democrat, when it's probably only been blue for a couple of years. So, I think that's a lot different than like a very liberal person from California running. He's like was able to win in a state that's moderate.
Oh, I didn't think about, like, but could you see him as a Veep pick in 2020?
I don't know.
What does he bring?
I mean,
What's interesting too is that he is like a nerdy tech guy. He's not like this big motivational speaker, and so I think he does get elected on his merits. And then actually Anise kind of commented on that, and she was like that. I mean, Anise was very smart, but she wasn't like, oh, let me get up and really rally you. She's very like, she's an accountant.
Yeah.
And so kind of what does he bring? But
I don't know, but if you're like Kamala Harris and you want someone who's gonna, balance out your ticket, right? Because Kamala's too moderate or whatever, or Joe Biden, like, is he someone that?
I think it's too many firsts on one ticket. A woman with a gay man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, true, yeah.
Let's
Baby
slow
steps.
down a little bit.
So he was actually
is what people would
voted.
think.
I actually thought I was reading about myself in this article. He was voted like, they were saying like, oh, like one of the reasons he was probably so, his gay thing wasn't an issue is he doesn't really dress very well. He's kind of nerdy. And in 2014, GQ actually titled him the worst dressed congressperson in America. And then Barney Frank, even shortly after he had moved to D.C., Barney Frank made the comment to him. He goes, your suit looks like it was crumpled up in your pocket all day.
Oh, that's gotta
And
be
Barney
like,
Frank, who's
yeah.
like not the classiest
No.
dresser.
That's got to be a little embarrassing, though.
Jay
Like,
Shade from Barney Frank.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, what is his husband doing? Does he not even dress him well?
I was
Shit.
like, gee, yeah. I was like, what's the point of? I get after Spencer all the time. I'm like, what's the point? Like, you're supposed to make sure I look presentable. My fly was down, or I have something in my teeth, like. And he's like, that's not my responsibility.
Glitter in your teeth. Or...
Glitter in my teeth. So, all right. Well, that's Jared. That's I think we'll see what happens to him next. But
well, let's talk about another frumpy, badly dressed LGBT
lesbian
person, Pamela. First of all, Eleanor Roosevelt is who we're talking about. Born October 11th, 1884, and died November 7th, 1962. Do you know there's rumors that Eleanor's a lesbian?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we'll get into that. Did you know that, Thomas?
Yeah, are they confirmed? I mean, here's the thing about and because we do daily posts about the day in LGBT history, always hesitant to like post something of people that are rumored, but you get enough like stories that where people are.
But my question is, are you going to talk about this?
Yeah,
later?
we'll get into that.
But I guess this was like at some point, like, are they just rumors?
But my thing is it like truly like, were there indications, or was it like Hillary Clinton where a lot of people like, oh, she's a lesbian? It's like, she's not a lesbian. You don't like her.
Okay, well,
like,
we'll discuss. I
Thank
regret
you.
asking if y'all knew that. I should have waited.
I know everything about lesbians.
So
Don't
Eleanor
ask me.
grew up
Pamela knows all about the lesbian.
very wealthy from like one of the big names. Both sides of her family were like old school aristocratic East Coast elites.
Yeah,
she was
a
the
Roosevelt,
niece
right?
of Theodore Roosevelt, and she married her fifth cousin once removed, Franklin Roosevelt.
Is that so? Is that like? I mean, it sounds gross as I ask this question, but is it really that? I mean,
well, I had to look
Tony,
it up because I'm like, what is fifth cousin? I think it goes back to great, 3 or 4 great grandfathers.
well, that's the girl that Tony got pregnant.
But to answer your question, yes, it's
Second
disgusting.
cousin. I'm kidding.
It is,
Just kidding.
and
It's
so
not disgusting.
like a side
I'm
note,
down
I
for
remember
it.
like so in Montana, I think the law is like you can only marry like your third cousin, like first or second's illegal, and I'm like, wow, there has to be a law about this.
But the elite people and royals did it because they want to keep the name and the family, the
That's why
money and
there
the
was so much
family.
inbreeding back in the day
Isn't that
with
why
the
they have
royals.
special needs and crazy kids?
That's why the Russian
Well, that's why
royal
there's a lot
family
against it in
had
Montana.
hemophilia. Just bleeding
That's why
bleeding
blood
out
clot
all over
Montana?
the place.
That's why they have laws against it. But I mean, I'm sure every state has laws because back in the day, if you were like, oh, middle of nowhere farm community, it's like, well, all you got is your cousin, hon.
And cows.
Oh, maybe I should move back
Yeah,
there.
But is
Mind
bestiality
yourself.
illegal?
What's that?
Is bestiality illegal?
Well, they
in Montana?
allowed gay marriage in the U.S., so it must be legal
Exactly.
now, right?
All right. Well, what started as Eleanor has turned into incest and bestiality.
Just like
Kendall,
Bound to
just
happen.
get on track,
just like
please.
the
Thank
Christians told us it would when gays could get married. So thank you for proving the point, Kendall.
Well, the point is already made because I've been saying I want to marry my dog for years. Morky?
you. Morky.
Oh, gosh. She's just stunning over there.
Don't take it as Morky lays next to his fiance Ben.
We're a throuple. So she married her 5th cousin once removed, Franklin, who's kind of a nerdy guy. Everyone said, don't do it. That's just weird. But they did it. And
He was her beard.
Teddy gave her away. And then they went on a 3-month European honeymoon. So a one-upper,
Yeah.
I feel like we need to do a 4-month. Maybe we're going on a 4-month vacation. Honeymoon, okay?
What do you call a woman's, a lesbian's boyfriend? Like when she's
I know.
a beard.
Yeah,
like
yeah. When a lady gets a beard.
Because for a gay
But they
man,
already have a beard, so they don't need another one.
I know.
for a gay man, I mean, just for educational purposes, right? For a gay man who dates a woman who's obviously gay, like they call the woman his beard, right? And so,
Right.
what would be the equivalent of a lesbian having a beard?
I don't know. Tammy, are you listening?
I'm googling it.
Pamela?
Pamela.
Pamela
Tammy,
is
call in.
Googling.
We're waiting for your call.
Gloria, what
This
do
is
you got?
why we need a
Anything?
lesbian on the podcast. Well,
I was
now
talking-
we have Pamela.
I was I was talking to a lesbian the other day about our podcast. She's like, "What do you mean you don't have a lesbian on there?" I'm like,
So this
well,
says it's still a beard.
oh, so okay, so a beard.
Wow.
That seems a bit sexist, but
I know.
anyways, Eleanor,
Women could have beards too. Eleanor, I'm sure, had one.
no doubt. Honor upon both her upper
So
and
Teddy
lower lip.
Roosevelt, her uncle, whom she loved, gave her away. Both her parents died at a young age. I think she was about 6. But her mom was so mean to her and called her to her ugly little face. Called her ugly duckling and called her granny. Her nickname, Eleanor Roosevelt's
As a kid?
nickname as a kid was Granny because she was so plain and serious, which is just sad. Is that why they called me Granny?
Flashback. I'm
It's
kidding.
like Tony, too real.
And she was very shy, and her parents died young, and she was kind of watched by different family members. Her dad was an alcoholic. She
I
was
too,
close.
but that was an abuse.
She was really close with her dad, but he was an alcoholic, and he made before he died. Eleanor promised that she would take care of her brother. She did her entire life, but her brother was also an alcoholic, so it kind of
Oh, okay.
repeated.
It's a good thing they were inbreds, huh?
Right, her cousin / brother. She had so when she married Franklin, Franklin's mom was notoriously controlling. Did you ever watch the Franklin
I did
Ken
not.
Burns documentary? It's about all 3, Teddy, Franklin, Eleanor. Very, very fascinating. But basically a 4th character in the documentary was Sarah, who was obsessed with her son. He was president because of her. You know, we talk about it's rumored that Bill would never be president without Hillary because Hillary.
Oh, and I think he probably knows that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, Sarah said, "You will be president," but she never liked Eleanor. In fact, Sarah raised the kids not because Eleanor was a bad mom, but because Eleanor was pushed aside. And Sarah actually told one of the kids, and the kid said this, that my grandma Sarah said, "All she did was bear you. I'm your real mother."
Oh my God, what a
gross.
weirdo.
Yeah. And then she bought them, after they got married, she bought them a townhouse. And then she bought the townhouse next door. And she tore down the wall, so it was one big townhome. So the mother-in-law always lived with them. So it took her years to finally be like, all right, Sarah, no more. I'm living my own life.
Meanwhile, Spencer's excited about that sort of prospect. He's like, if my mom could live with us, that would be great. He's ignoring me.
Well, that's many a gay man would love for their mothers to move in.
You want your mom to move in. Just kidding.
But she was very controversial. So obviously she became first lady. She was very controversial as a first lady because she was so outspoken on civil rights. And she basically did whatever she wanted to. But she invented the current role of first lady in terms of like how...
Yeah, because I could imagine before that it was just very passive, probably.
They were just hostesses, basically. But she was the first lady to hold regular press conferences, to write a daily newspaper column, to write a monthly magazine column, host a weekly radio show, and first to speak at a national convention. She was considered more liberal even than her husband.
But now, like most first ladies, they have a platform. So I guess she was the first one to kind of... Was she advocating for anything? I mean, she was first lady during the Great Depression.
Yeah.
So I'm sure
she really pushed her husband publicly, not even privately, publicly, on issues of like race, but she was anti-Semitic.
Oh, really?
She spoke very poorly of Jews, which I don't understand. I don't understand that whole anti-Semitism thing. I don't know where it comes from. I don't get why they're supposedly so dangerous.
Is she the reason we didn't get in the war until the very end?
I've never understood that either. Like,
I don't either.
If she were here, we'd be able to ask her.
The Jews killed Jesus? Is that what it is? Like,
no, I think it's more so they had well, they were banished out of Israel, and they spread throughout the world, and they had this reputation of being controlling, like had an outsized influence. So they were always at the top of the intern. The intern is laughing hilariously at something.
You're talking about Jewish people and their struggle.
But anyway, we've gone from bestiality to anti-Semitism. We're just covering it all with Eleanor.
We're trying to get some ratings here.
All right. Come on, Pamela.
So she was considered the 9th in Gallup's list of most widely admired people of the 20th century. She was number 9.
Do you think she was at the time, or she in retrospect?
Well, at the time, this is one of those things. Like, I think years from now, we're going to look at Hillary Clinton, your favorite person on earth, as a historical figure, almost on par with Eleanor, because of so many firsts that she did. She was successful in her own right, but right now she's like a lightning rod.
See,
you hate her or love her.
Like,
at the time she knew that, and I watched a documentary, and she was like, "A lot of people don't like me. I know that."
Eleanor?
Yeah,
yeah. Because I think George W. Bush, when he was president, I think everyone thought, "Oh my God, you're one of the greatest presidents," and now we're finding out, no, he wasn't, or realizing, I guess. But
when he ended, like his...
Ew, no.
Not when he ended, but his first, 5 or 6 years, I mean...
I feel George W. Bush?
Yeah.
Stop it. Get out.
Wait, who voted?
You no longer have my business.
Hey, everybody here...
No, I'm just saying...
Who voted for George W. Bush?
It was an accident.
No, I'm saying,
Chads.
When he was first elected, I think everyone thought, "Oh my God, you're such a great president," and now he's not considered. And so that's why I think...
okay, good. I thought you were saying now he's considered.
Actually, I see a reverse, though. Well, there's been interesting. I feel like he's gone in the last 6 months. It's been a little bit of a loop-de-loop. But after he left, his approval ratings were in the crapper. Right?
But just the last couple of years, I feel the first 5 or 6 years he was president.
That dislike of him is still strong, because look what happened to Ellen when she sat next to him.
But when he was palling around with Michelle Obama, everyone's like, "Oh, we love."
Oh, but for a blip. But I'm talking about in general, when he was president, people thought great, and I think especially 20 years from now, they're gonna what a fucking fuck up that was.
But that's how he ended his presidency. That's why Obama got elected, because
the greatest thing to happen to George W. Bush's legacy is Donald Trump was the next Republican president after, because in comparison, they're like.
But I guess my point was,
we thought we had a hard George W. Bush.
I
had a crush on him.
I think she was probably not very well admired at the time, because she was woman play. It's that's not the.
She
place
didn't know
for
her
a woman.
place.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas now we look at this as, oh, what an amazing woman. But at the time, she was probably
she was big on equal rights for women.
But she would have probably been a better received than Hillary Clinton, because her husband wasn't impeached, right? Her husband was elected to an unprecedented
Right,
Four
but
terms.
but he was a polarizing figure as well.
Yeah, but
For
I mean,
sure.
four terms to get elected.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he had some, no
Right.
doubt polarizing because he took the U.S. to some extremes from
Right.
From where they were at the time, right, or
Yeah.
the country was at the time with these social programs. But I mean, I don't think. I mean, I'm sure she was polarizing. That people didn't like her, but I can't imagine. I mean, people are rabid about the Clintons, right? And
Yeah,
just
no, there's no
it
doubt.
just-
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
again, they impeached him based on getting a blowjob, but they can't even fathom how Donald Trump could even come close to getting impeached. Like, it's just, it's
Okay, so add blowjobs to the list of things.
Wait, what?
Eleanor
Where's this? Where's this?
Sparked bestiality, incest,
But
blowjobs,
just
and
on
anti-Jews.
Hillary,
Eleanor's brought all this out of y'all.
because we brought up Hillary. Is she gonna run?
She's not gonna.
No, she's not. But can I get back on track?
Yes, thank you.
She's trolling people on Twitter.
So, Eleanor was very depressed her whole life, mainly because her parents died at a young age, and the way her alcoholic dad and her mean mom.
The way you just say that, her mean mom.
Mean mom, y'all.
You're mean. Y'all are mean. What's happening? Get us back on track, Kendall. Eleanor.
And then she married her cousin. Then she married her cousin.
She had an alcoholic dad, a mean mom.
And he had a lot of affairs,
and she
and that
married
made
her
her
cousin.
sad at first. And
Then she found comfort. in
she had
the
a
arms
mean
of a woman.
mother-in-law. And then she started having her own affairs, both with men and women.
women.
So the first woman, Lorena Hickok, was she called her Hick. And Hick was an out lesbian. And they met when Lorena Hickok was covering her as a reporter. And they had an affair. 3,000 letters sent back and forth between them. And the letters you would have to deny, like you would have to say these two people are lying in these letters to say that they
were
weren't
not-
having
yeah.
an affair, which to me, a lot of historians did. They were like, no, she was just very, they were just really close friends. It's almost like there's a tinge of homophobia in that.
Wow, yeah.
Like you just don't want to deny what's so obvious. 3,000 letters worth of things she would say, like, this to me is oddly specific. I want to put my arms around you and kiss you at the corner of your mouth.
Maybe she
Which,
wasn't-
let's be honest, haven't we all told that to someone?
Maybe she wasn't talking about her
I want to
mouth.
kiss you at the corner of your mouth.
Ew.
Apparently they liked kissing each other at the corner of their mouths.
Is that a lesbian term? If you're a lesbian, then you can let us know. You can email
They
us
call their
at- let's talk
vaginas the
about
corner
gay-
of my
Pamela,
mouth.
can
Yeah.
you please email us?
Let's
Thank
talk
you.
about gay stuff at gmail.com. We'd gladly welcome your feedback.
Pamela
about
will
It's
keep
a
it all
euphemism for
confidential
vagina.
and
what
discreet.
what does kissing?
Or if you're straight and your wife's ever told you, I can't have sex because the corner of my mouth is bleeding, then maybe you can add to that conversation. But anyway, so
did you hear that noise? Someone just kissed someone on the corner of their mouth.
Ooh, that's what
she
that
also
was.
wrote, I can't kiss you, so I kiss your picture. Good night and good morning. And then another one, she said, we must be careful this summer when we're together and keep it out of the newspapers.
What makes that a lesbian affair? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Well, I've never gotten those kind of letters.
And then at
All Pamela.
her husband Franklin Roosevelt's 1933 inauguration, Eleanor wore a sapphire ring that Hick had given her. They stopped being a couple, when Eleanor started having an affair with her doctor, who was a man. So Eleanor had affairs with men and women.
Wait, is that because Eleanor finally found the right D?
She went
She
back
realized
and
that,
forth.
yeah.
You don't have. You can find the dick without.
That's not a dick.
That's not a dick.
But even J. Edgar Hoover kept a file on her relationship with Lauren Hickok.
Oh, I'm sure.
To blackmail her in the
Yeah.
future, which he did with did that with
Everybody,
JFK.
yeah.
That's why he was the FBI director for 30-something years, because he had dirt on
Everyone was
everyone.
afraid of him, yeah.
And he was gay too.
And meanwhile,
He was,
he's
yeah.
a drag queen at night.
Was he a drag queen?
Was he a drag
Yeah.
queen or a cross-dresser?
Cross-dresser, I
Well-
should say. And we think he had an employee that he would always go on vacations with, and there was rumors in the...
No, it was his assistant,
Yeah.
and that's who's buried next to him. Yeah.
But Eleanor was friends
country.
with a lot of lesbians. She actually lived with them later in life. She would live with lesbian couples, and her personal secretary, people were rumored that they were with each other, and she actually had her secretary, when she wasn't her secretary anymore, had her own room at her little cottage. She started a company called Valkill Industries with a lesbian couple, and how stereotypical it is. They would build furniture and sell it. The lesbian couple would build it. And they would kind of use Eleanor's name to sell it. And then this couple, Marion Dickerson and Nancy, I forget her last name, Nancy Cook. They were so close, the three of them, that almost everything in the house was initialed, monogrammed, or carved EMN.
Wait,
Eleanor, Marion, and Nancy.
This was while she was married to...
Yes. And actually, I think Franklin encouraged it. Like, he encouraged her to have her own little
because he had his affairs.
Cottage for... Oh, yeah. Well, he died with his... one of his...
Yeah.
In the same
long-term
room
lovers, yeah.
So, later in life, she was hanging out with the couple Marion Dickerman and Nancy Cook. Hick disliked it and would plant seeds about how she didn't like Marion Dickerman, and it kind of worked. And Eleanor gave up on being friends with the other lesbian couple because Hick was like, if I can't have you, ain't no other one's going to have you.
What a crazy lesbian.
And then she was friends with other lesbian couples to where they would come stay the night. She was just friends with a lot of lesbians, but she had affairs with men too.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes back to Miley. Like, what's the big deal? Why can't she be...
Well, it was kind of like Frida. I mean, she had, she and her husband both had affairs, and Frida had them with men and women.
I think what happens to a lot of people that have a damaged childhood, that were not used to love as a child, that they're attracted, it makes them more likely to be attracted to people.
Oh, like anyone that loves them versus like, this is my type.
Right, like you're showing me love. I love the fact that you see something in me.
Yeah. And
it can turn into a sexual relationship, which can be controversial to say for the gays, because the gays want to be like, you were born. I'm not with somebody that believes you're born one exact way. I think we all have the potential to be pansexual, bi, whatever.
I mean, and even like whether you're straight or gay, like some people are like, this is my specific type, and some people are like, no, I like this, and this, and so why can't that, like, just because one person's like, no, I like white men, Hispanic men, tall men,
but there's a lot of phobia within the gay community because they're like, the message we have to give to the straights is that you cannot help it. You're born this way. You're not going to change, blah, blah, blah. But bisexuals within the gay community and straight community, it's almost like they don't exist.
Well, yeah. I know. I struggle with that. Like I said, probably for the first time out in public, not amongst friends at this workshop the other day, I'm like, I'm a bisexual. Like, I would have never had that. I still couldn't, like, if I was in corporate America, I couldn't have that conversation with people because they would not get it. Like,
well, both sides are like, they say you're greedy, or you just don't have the guts to come out as gay,
right?
Or you're confused.
You're like, oh, do you just like sleeping with everybody? And yeah,
but it, like, I mean, from my perspective, it's like people are gonna think I am crazy because if I show up to work, I'm dating a man, and then the next day I'm engaged to a woman. Not next day, but just like
they're
over
like,
time. They're like, it just. I mean, I feel like that would impact your ability to get promotions or get raises because people are gonna like, wait, this guy's not stable because he doesn't even know what he likes.
I would say that I never thought about that aspect, but I would agree that, like, if you're gay and you're only going to show up with a man, you have certain hurdles to overcome. But once you kind of are at your place, it's like, okay, that's regardless of how people feel about you, that's how they feel about you. But yeah, you're automatically discounted even further if it's like, oh, yeah, he brought Kendall last year, now he's got like Susie.
If you show up with a man to a Christmas party, you're forever a gay man at that company.
Right. Yeah,
even if you marry a woman.
Yeah, but
because they want simple, like, what box are you
binary,
in?
right?
Yeah,
you're in this box, and so I mean, that's why this whole Miley thing is. And I say, I maintain too. I mean, this is why. Thank you for bringing this up, Kendall, because I've yet to like be able to voice this, and I probably won't articulate it well. But I have struggled with this aspect of like it being a choice, right? Because I am born the way I've been attracted to men and women, have always been, and for me to say that I've consciously chosen to date men at this point, like that's because I could have, unlike you guys, like I could have dated a woman and been fine with, married a woman, been totally cool with it, but I'm now making a choice to be in a relationship.
They would have thought
with a
she
man.
was a beard.
So yeah, well, but no, I don't.
But it's like women hate the concept of bisexual men because they just assume that, oh, but I don't have a penis, and so he's going to leave me for a penis.
But gay men think the same thing.
And gay men are like, Right, I'm saying that's what, and gay men are like, oh, he's just not able to admit that he's gay yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
which is very simple, stupid thinking.
So I mean, I like going back to this whole Miley controversy. Like I said, I don't get it because I mean, I think Miley said a very 25-year-old thing where it's like
the audience is barking.
You know, you can choose to not be lesbian. You don't have to be lesbian. You can find the right dick, whatever. I mean, I think there are aspects of where you can find the right person. I wouldn't say that personally. It's just like, because to me, I fall in love with the individual, right? So, versus it being a gay or straight thing. I don't know, but
sometimes I feel sorry for famous people because everything gets so, especially now.
Yeah, it's scrutinized
dissected,
and exactly.
Scrutinized, and there's no one. You can say one thing and one group of people love what you said, and it's the reason the other group hates your guts.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the back in the glory days of Hollywood, right? It was just like the heydays in the 30s, 40s, 50s. You could say something like that, and then you could deny it, right? And because the only way it would show up is in print and in some gossip mag, right? Now Miley's doing that on Instagram Live.
Yeah.
She's got a fan asking her a question.
And she's just living her life.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, like, people hate her.
Well, I remember somebody was interviewing Madonna, and this is kind of when Britney was going through her, pretty rough phase. And they asked Madonna about it, and she goes, when I was her age, we all did a lot of that stuff. But she goes, we didn't have cell phone cameras where it's around the globe within 10 seconds,
Yep. Yeah. So Eleanor.
So my takeaway with Eleanor is, in researching this, it's not people. The argument should not be, was she a lesbian? How about the argument is, she's not Miley Cyrus. Like, she's attracted to people, and she's attracted to the love that she's shown. Because those letters, it's just now recently, Lorena Hickok died in 1975, and she had in her will that all her letters would be released 10 years after she died. So they've been out there since 1985.
Wow.
She willed it to the Roosevelt Foundation that kind of manages all his properties, including his library.
Okay.
But just now in the last few years, scholars are like, why are we denying what the letters are saying?
Yeah, why would you?
And I think part of that is because we want to be able to call her, including like scholars, they want to be able to say in writing, she is a lesbian. When life is more complicated than that to me.
It is, yeah, and I feel like, why does she have to be labeled a lesbian, like you said, where she probably loved Franklin. And I do feel like she and Franklin like had a mental connect, kind of like the Clintons, where it's like, but then he had his fun, she, found love in other ways, but that doesn't mean she was only a...
Well, did you know Eleanor is Hillary's like number one icon, role model? She used to have seances and ask Eleanor for advice. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she did.
But I do know that she really looked up to Eleanor. And
when she was a first lady in the White House?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I do feel like...
But Nancy Reagan did that too, not to Eleanor, but anyway.
Oh, she had seances?
Her thing was astrology. She relied so much
she was
on astrology, and her astrologer said, oh, that's not a good day for Ronnie. Then Nancy would have the scheduler say he needs to stay indoors all day, or he cannot go to do an event until midnight. Like when he was inaugurated as governor of California, he was inaugurated at 12:01 because the astrologer said
the day of was not the good day.
Yeah. You have to do it at this time because I'm getting bad, whatever. But Hillary was, like, really looks up to Eleanor, and I think it's because they have so many similarities.
I do, too, because I think, like, regardless of the sexuality, I feel they're both strong women. They were kind of against the grain for their time, and, Eleanor obviously changed the role of the First Lady, but I think Hillary even further took it to where, like... Because I think Eleanor, she was very obviously active in trying to, mold policy of the presidency. But I think most of the first women after that, even though they were active, it was like you were like, what was their cause? Literacy, school lunches.
Very passive.
Yeah. Whereas Hillary, I think, was another one like, I'm going to legislate or, from the first lady.
An advisor to the president.
Yes.
Right?
Well,
Yeah.
Eleanor became the celebrity, like living legend within the Democratic Party, to where all the Democrats begged for her endorsement every time they ran. JFK desperately wanted it. She didn't give it to him. She was for Adlai Stevenson. But she was, do you know she was the UN ambassador for 7 years?
I did not know that.
1945 to 1952.
Like right after it.
1945, yeah,
No,
pretty
the
much.
first one, then. I mean, that was post World War
Yeah.
II when that was established.
Yeah.
Back then they called them UN delegates, but it's the same. Now we call them UN ambassadors.
Yeah.
So she was like a public official in her own right. She actually died because she was in New York and she got hit by a car.
What?
But the car, that didn't kill her, but she had to have steroids as part of the treatment for the injury she sustained, and it activated like a dormant tuberculosis
Get out.
in her bone marrow, which I didn't know was a thing. And I used to be an ambulance driver.
You were an ambulance driver?
The reason that's funny is because I used to be an EMT. EMTs hate it when you call them ambulance drivers, and Tony calls them ambulance drivers. So
I do not call them. I said it one time, but right before this recording, I said something about ambulance driver, and Kendall's like, "I fucking hate you."
So it
Wait,
activated.
you're not going to tell us about that guy who looked like Barack Obama?
No, but
Chuck
it's in
yourself.
another episode. One of the first
Episode 4.
One of the early ones. I set the tone in that.
That's why I tell people. They're like, "Oh, you have a podcast?" I'm like, "Don't listen to episode 1, 2, or 3."
We're still finding her.
Well, that's what I drank during the podcast. I really don't anymore, so I'm just a lot quieter. They have to wake me up
Obviously.
sometimes.
It's because the mimosas make.
Now
you
they just tell me it's
sleepy.
cider. It's non-alcoholic cider.
Poison.
So it
Lunch houses by
activated
proxy.
TB that brought on a cardiac arrest eventually. So
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't.
can you
know
imagine
that.
being the guy that hit her when she was walking? And that's your legacy.
You killed Eleanor Roosevelt?
Because she was in her 70s. Too soon. It's right around the corner for us.
Wow.
For Thomas and I more than you.
I got nothing
Y'all
to that.
first.
We're gonna have to do a topic on Eleanor Roosevelt's killer.
But to me, the takeaway and the reason I wanted to do her as a topic is it's the reason I don't say LGBTQ, blah, 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 and I just say queer, because we can go between. The whole point is it shouldn't matter. Like with Miley, I'm glad that she said that I think it's a good thing that she's. It shouldn't be a story that you have a girlfriend one day and a boyfriend the next, a husband and a girlfriend. Like,
and if she
cares?
was like Joe Schmo,
she's
it
finding her
wouldn't matter.
happiness. You
But
know,
her story is, I mean, to your point, I mean, it's battling something within the LGBT community. It's like, I was born this way. You can't discriminate against me. Don't hate me. And
but then
she's
again,
saying
that's
you
also
can make a choice.
Like, the only reason we have to say that is because society judges us. Whereas if society didn't judge us, we wouldn't have to say, well, we're born this way.
Well,
but a lot of queer people grew up Christians too, and they struggle with that.
But
like, they don't want to think they're sinning.
But even to the point, though, I mean, it's not just you're not just lesbian or gay or bi anymore. You can be pan, non-binary. Like there's a full spectrum that the LGBT community, I think, is starting to be woke to. I mean, again, I think Miley, I don't think her heart was in a way of like, you don't have to be gay, like you can pray it away. She was just saying, look, you can be whatever I mean, the way I took it is you can be whatever you want to be.
I don't even think she was saying that. I just think she was like, she found some really good D, and she'll eventually leave him, and she'll go back
that's the point.
Exactly.
It's just
to
like
the corner of the mouth.
When she goes back
she got some good D, but then he's like not nice to her, so then she's like, okay, the D's not enough.
It was a D with a D.
But when she goes back to dating a woman, like, are we going to be mad at her again? Like, you can't just choose. I mean, why can't she just choose? She could choose whatever she wants.
She can do whatever she wants because Dolly Parton is her godmother.
But people are going to say, oh, she's doing, and that was the backlash. Like, oh, you exploited the gay community to make a buck off them. I'm like, she looked like she was having some fun with some drag queens,
within the gay community, it's not that easy. You just said you found because when you're like lesbians get told all the time, you just haven't had the right D yet, or when I've had female friends who are like, you just haven't right pussy yet, but they didn't sound like that because
right,
sound
yeah.
like
That's what they sounded
like Lorena.
But I know some lesbians that like they had the D and they didn't like it, so they're like, let me go to the other side.
Like,
but I also know
kiss me on the corner of the mouth, please.
Lesbians that's like, yeah, it felt really good and I like it. It's better than a plastic one, but I'm not attracted to what it's attached to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just a pleasure ride going in and out
Right,
of my
that's a
body.
physical thing, whereas, like, you know, if it's not what you're emotionally attracted to.
Lesbians. May we all one day grow to be good.
We should have lesbian co-host tryouts.
We should.
No tryouts. I know who our lesbian co-host is.
Isn't that what Morky is?
Gloria. If you
Gloria.
choose anybody
I kiss the
anyone
corner of
other
her
than
mouth.
Gloria, I'm resigning right now. I'm
He's
like,
putting in his letter of resignation, folks. All right. That's a wrap on Eleanor.
That's it, yeah.
All right. Well, I like
Love
Eleanor.
her.
That was a good
Yeah.
story. Good story.
Oh, thank you.
Nicely done.
I winged it.
There we go. But as per usual, it was your birthday though. So again, by the time folks are listening to this, it's well past your birthday. But you tend to celebrate the whole month anyway. So
Life's a celebration.
life's
I know.
oh jeez, how motivational, Kendall. All right. So again, a reminder to
I'm
everybody.
just glad I found a dick that wasn't a dick. Right, baby?
Meanwhile, his ex-boyfriend sits next to him like, well, I guess I was a dick. Too real. All right. So November the 5th is election day. So if that's an election day for you where you are at, make sure you go vote because it's important. Even if it's just a...
Importante.
Yeah, even if you're council members... Actually, they're council members...
Even if it's just voting on American Idol.
Yeah. Actually, more people vote for American Idol than probably in real life for real elections. Anyways, thank you for listening to our podcast and having a kiki with us. We had a good time today, as you can probably listen to us in our words and our voices. So, but thank you. A special thank you to our special chef. He made a great brunch today. We're going to have a good birthday cake for Kendall in just a bit. Our sound check guy, Spencer. Woo! A shout out to Ben. Yeah, we're still clapping. A shout out to Ben for in the audience.
Pamela for her guest appearance.
Someone wake him and
Pamela
thank him.
for a guest appearance. Hello, Pamela. Good to see you.
It's a gay bar, Pamela.
Thanks for
I
joining
want one
us.
of these t-shirts.
It's a gay bar, Pamela. Don't forget to subscribe so you can hear our future episodes. You can visit our website at letstalkaboutgaystuff.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram as the intern starts coughing on at Let's Talk About Gay Stuff and on Twitter at Talk Gay Stuff. Why don't you leave us a review? We got a very nice review this past week, so thank you to that. Apparently,
You know what's
Who gave us
interesting
the
though?
review?
Can I have another 30-minute topic real quick?
please.
So
How many
someone
just
left
ordered?
on Facebook a review, a 0-star or 1-star or whatever review about us because they thought they were gay and they lived
they
a gay
were gay.
lifestyle and yeah.
Turn into Miley. Found the right vagina.
And then he found Jesus and now he doesn't have to be gay anymore. I'm actually glad he left that review because it's like typed on the screen what so many people are struggling with. I'm not mad at him for that
I'm not
1-star
either. No,
review.
it's fine.
No,
That's his story, which is very sad.
I actually feel sorry for him because if
And
you go
it's
to
a
his
lot of people's
Facebook,
story.
he has tons of profile pictures, and they're all like,
you want to see if he was cute, didn't you?
I know.
You're like, woof.
Was he cute?
Can
He
I
was
make
not
you gay
cute.
again?
Yeah.
Maybe he was cute
not
when he was gay. Wait, no, if you're listening, because you know he listens. You're still cute. Tony, you just called him ugly. He's a
but-
listener.
Just not Tony's type, but yeah.
I do feel bad for him because all of his
he has a
profile
beard.
pictures are, like his whole life is like, thank God I'm not a gay person anymore. Like, and it's a daily struggle. It's like, poor bastard. Like.
I would say yes. I mean, and he gave us a review and live your life. But all I have to say is we're here.
We're queer.
Get used to it.
And don't forget to listen to our Spoopy podcast, available now.